Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to open the State Land Board meeting for February 27th, 2025. We have a special meeting today to take up one action item. And Director Walker, do we have any testimony signed up?
We do not, and we have no one in the room other than my staff.
Okay, well, thank you. This is a public meeting. We do have one action item today. We have no individual signed up for public testimony. This is regarding approval of the proposed recruitment framework for the Department of State Lands Director and delegation of authority for the recruitment process. And I want to appreciate the director who has given us ample advance notice of her retirement, which allows us to move into a process here for a search for her replacement. And Director Walker, are you going to be providing the details, or is that going to be?
We'll split the detail discussion between me and Allie.
Okay, well, we are open now for gathering information for the first action item. And so, Director Walker, why don't you start? Thanks.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate that I gave you plenty of time. I'm an organized individual and needed to get my ducks in a row. So I appreciate our focus today, of course, is the Department of State Lands Director Recruitment, who will be the next leader of this excellent team and the exceptional work we do for Oregon. And as you know, in December of 2024, even though long before that, I did formally notify the State Land Board of my intent to retire June 30 of this year. And by statute, the State Land Board shall appoint a director of the Department of State Lands to serve for a term of 4 years under ORS, Oregon Revised Statutes 273.161 sub 1. And before you for consideration then are the two actions you spoke of, Governor, approving the recruitment framework for the director position, as well as delegating authority for that recruitment process. The proposed recruitment framework provides overarching standards, criteria, and direction to guide the recruitment. It includes desired director attributes and qualities, the job announcement and position description, and the plan for extensively advertising and promoting the position to ensure a strong applicant pool. The framework is noted in Appendix A of the materials packet, and I want to note there is a link to the materials that we're discussing in the YouTube live stream description for people who are watching today or at a later date. Appendix B outlines the overall timeline and steps necessary for the Land Board to appoint a new director in June of 2025. The second action before you for consideration today is delegating that authority to oversee the recruitment process, including implementation of the final recruitment plan to the Governor's Land Board assistant. I'd now like to ask Allie Ryan Hansen, our communications director, to provide some context on the recruitment framework and process. So, Ms. Ryan Hansen, you're on.
Thank you, Director Walker, Governor Kotek, Secretary Reed, Treasurer Steiner. My name is Allie Ryan Hansen. My pronouns are she, her. I'll begin with the recruitment framework, as that is a foundational piece of this effort. For folks watching the live stream, that is page 5 of the materials packet linked on YouTube. The draft list of attributes the Land Board saw earlier this month has, with thoughts from you, the Land Board, from the DSL team, from the people we work with and serve, grown into desired attributes and qualities. These attributes and qualities will serve as a touchstone throughout this recruitment process. They appear in the job announcement. They shape the position description, which describes the work of the agency and the duties of the director. And they will continue to be a North Star as the final recruitment plan comes together. Some of these desired qualities, for example, lend themselves particularly well to interview questions. Tell me about a time when you exemplified transparent ethical leadership, or tell me about a time when you needed to drive progress and maintain urgency within a thoughtful, inclusive decision-making framework. So I want to highlight a few considerations as this list of attributes and qualities came together. First, what we heard from folks most often was that is an extraordinary list, and it should be an extraordinary list because DSL is an extraordinary agency. That was not a pat on the back thing necessarily. It was more it's how we are governed with the State Land Board as our overseeing agency and the variety and extent of work that we do for Oregon. And what we heard second most often was, that's an extraordinary list. I have a couple of things that I would like to add. So the draft before you reflects the extremely thoughtful feedback that we got in those conversations in what we heard to date. I will mention that we are going to add something else to the draft that we heard from Friends of South SLU has asked that we specifically mention nonprofit friends groups as someone we work with, and we thought, yeah, we should definitely call that out. It's important to them. And then with the Elliott State Research Forest coming online now, we do want to mention that specifically. And then we, of course, acknowledge as those that we're talking with and that we continue to talk with, and as the job posting explicitly does, that excellent candidates may not have every desired attribute and quality. There are many ways that these attributes and qualities can combine in a remarkable individual who is the right leader for the department. And then finally, I want to transition to discussing the recruitment process outlined by noting engagement efforts are ongoing. Conversations with tribal governments, with the people we work with and serve, those are going to inform the final recruitment plan development and implementation. We're also committed to keeping people updated about the process, both to get the opportunity in front of potential candidates, and so the folks that we work with and the folks that we serve know what's happening with the recruitment. We're going to add a director recruitment updates area to our website, and we'll post the recruitment plan there when it's finalized. So I do want to talk you through the recruitment process outline, but before we leap into that, are there questions or thoughts on attributes and qualities or the recruitment framework, or would you like to talk through the process outline first?
Thank you, Ali, and thank you, Director Walker. Are there any questions up until this point of the information that we've been reviewing? See, I'm shaking hands from both the Treasurer and the Secretary of State. So, Ali, just keep going. Thanks.
All right. I have a slide, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, so Appendix B, which is on page 22 of the materials packet, linked on YouTube, is the full outline. The slide I'm showing, which I'm assuming everybody can see. I can no longer see you. If you can't see it, somebody should shout out that you can't see
We
it.
can see it, Ali. That's good.
Wonderful. Thank you. I need constant reassurance about technology when I'm sharing things on the internet. The full outline is in Appendix B. This is high-level timeline and actions. In March, the job is open with extensive outreach and promotion. Should the Land Board approve the recruitment framework today, we may be able to post the job announcement later this afternoon. The target closing date is March 30th. Extensive promotion and outreach of that opportunity as outlined in the recruitment plan that's in the framework. In March, we'll also be finalizing the overall recruitment plan. And then in April, the interview process begins. The initial applicant screening happens. HR reviews minimum qualifications. A screening panel narrows the pool of candidates to begin the interview process. April and May, that interview process is happening. What that interview process looks like will be finalized in the recruitment plan and reflect input from the land board offices, from DSL staff, community, tribes, stakeholders. Based on conversations to date, we know it should include participation opportunities for DSL represented staff, for management staff, for the state agencies we work with, for community partners, for interest groups, from a mix of perspectives, that we want to see multiple rounds, multiple types of interview formats, potentially interviews with individual state land board members, and then of course, participation by individual land board assistants throughout as desired. In late May or early June, it's anticipated that final candidates will have been vetted and the governor's land board assistant will make a recommendation regarding finalists to the land board ahead of June, in an executive session to interview finalists tentatively on June 9th, and then a decision on June 10th during the regularly scheduled land board meeting.
And
Super helpful. I
Ally,
appreciate the timeline, and I think always good to see it kind of plotted out. Questions on the timeline or any of that material?
Can I just make a really quick comment, Governor?
Madam Treasurer? Mhm.
Thank you. I really appreciate Ms. Ryan Hansen and Director Walker, how comprehensive this is. And I get that some people said, wow, that's a long list. And that's true. I really can't think of another state. I mean, every state agency touches most, if not all, Oregonians in one way or another. But this one has a particular importance if you think about our partnership with the sovereign tribal nations and the critical nature of that, and with all the different types of users who are engaged with state lands. So I appreciate the comprehensive process that went into forming the job description and the criteria. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness that's clearly going to go into the interview process, because there's some parallel process necessary. The new director has to understand, as Director Walker has, the importance of engaging with all of these different kinds of stakeholders. So engaging the stakeholders in the interviews will demonstrate the importance, from our perspective as the land board, that the new director will do that. So I just want to express my gratitude to everybody at DSL, but to you and Director Walker in particular, for what you've prepared for us and how it reflects what we're hoping for and what our expectations are for the new director. So thank you.
you're
you.
welcome,
Mhm.
Treasurer Steiner. I will say, Ally has carried the weight of this, and our staff has worked closely with DAS. There are subject matter experts on the line for you, but Ally and I have spent a lot of time going over this, and I have begun my outreach to the tribes already. I've reached out to 4 of them. I'll reach out to the remainder after this meeting today. And meetings are being scheduled between me and tribal chairs now, so that I can have a one-on-one conversation with them.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point made by the treasurer. And yes, so thank you both for doing that kind of work on that outreach. I think agency jobs are very complicated, that there's not a like set mode of who would be a great director. And so the minimum quals are very straightforward. So these desired attributes are really helpful, I think, to kind of make it clear that the breadth and the like scope of someone we're looking for. So really appreciate that. Mr. Secretary, did you have any comments, questions?
Going.
Thank you. Ally or Director Walker, anything else that, I think that was all the materials.
That is all the materials. So at this time, Governor, the department would recommend the State Land Board approve the proposed director recruitment framework and delegate authority to implement a recruitment process that identifies a final candidate or candidates to Jeff Huntington as Governor Kotek's Land Board Assistant and Senior Natural Resource Policy Advisor.
Thank you, Director Walker. Do I hear a motion for that recommendation? Mr. Secretary, we cannot hear you. You are muted.
I'm not muted on my end.
There you are. There you're going. Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. Maybe a glitch. Madam Chair, move approval of the recommendation and the proposed framework and the delegation of authority.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Second.
Treasurer, thank you. We have a motion and a second. I would just start off by saying, again, appreciate the thoroughness. My expectation for my land board assistant is to work collaboratively with the offices of the Secretary of State and the Treasurer. Our staff will ably work together to, navigate this, and it's helpful to have a point person. So we appreciate the confidence in our office to be the point, but I assume this will be a very strong collaborative effort between our staff and all members of the land board. So any comments or questions at this point? Are there any objections to the motion?
None.
Motion approved. So we have taken care of that action item in that business. Is there any other item of business at this point? Probably not.
No, Governor, we don't have anything today. Things keep happening here at the department. You'll hear about them as they come to a head. And we're busy at the legislature nearly every day of the week.
I'm sure the lawmakers are keeping every agency busy, including state land. So thank you very much. Thank you for the quick meeting together. Colleagues, thanks for coming together expeditiously. And with that, I will close today's meeting of the State Land Board. Thank you so much.
Thank you.